Join the VLGA and LGIU for their next Global Executive Live panel on Thursday the 22nd of May, addressing a pressing issue for local government. This webinar will explore the experiences and lessons from across the globe when it comes to civility in public life. Hear from experts about what they're observing, the reasons for a decline in civility, and the impact this is having on retaining talent and promoting diversity. Tickets are free for VLGA members and alumni, and $60 for non-members, excluding GST. Head to the VLGA website to find out more and secure your place. And we look forward to seeing you at the Global Executive Live panel Thursday the 22nd of May from 5:30 p.m. A rural mayor suspended after an arbitration process. Hepburn gets the all-clear for a 10% rate increase. Intense debate over a controversial inner-city artwork. More councils join the fight against a new state government tax. A Sydney council calls for new planning rules to be suspended. Protests against a Queensland council's homelessness approach. Another council exiting from aged care services. And a new campaign to lift the tone as abuse and intimidation takes a toll. All of that and more just ahead on the Local Government News Roundup. I'm Chris Eddy. Welcome to our podcast, Australia's only dedicated local government news podcast. Brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. An arbiter has found Baw Baw Shire Mayor Councillor Danny Goss breached standards of conduct in relation to the treatment of others and has ordered his suspension for 21 days. The internal arbitration decision will be tabled at the council's meeting today, after which the suspension will take effect. The arbitration process followed an application last year by three former councillors, Anne-Marie McCabe, Keith Cook and Farhat Fadous, seeking findings of misconduct against Councillor Goss. It was alleged that Councillor Goss's behaviour at a councillor-only meeting and two council meetings between March and June last year was intimidating, threatening and disrespectful. The arbiter, Dr. Lily O'Neill, found that Councillor Goss breached the relevant standards on two occasions, but dismissed the allegation in relation to the June meeting. Ms O'Neill noted that Councillor Goss made a public apology in March this year, in which he said he lost his temper in an acrimonious council debate and that he regretted the comments he made at the time. The arbiter considered the apology to be sincere and said that if not for that apology, she would have applied the maximum allowed suspension of 28 days. The Essential Services Commission has approved Hepburn Council's application for a 7% rate cap variation, resulting in a total rate increase of 10% for the forthcoming budget year, when combined with the Victorian Government's 3% cap. The increase will generate an additional $1.36 million in revenue for essential services and infrastructure, with the council having identified $2.5 million in operational savings through the draft budget. The ESC engaged CT Management to conduct analysis to assist with its assessment of the application. It found that in the period of 2018 to 2024, the council had been living beyond its means, with increased borrowings, operating costs and capital investment, while significantly reducing renewal investment, cash and working capital. The CT Management report supported the council's higher rate cap application as necessary to maintain sufficient cash and achieve VAGO financial ratios. CEO Bradley Thomas said the application to the ESC was not made lightly and that the council carefully considered all financial levers available, including operational efficiencies, asset rationalisation and revenue diversification. Last night, the council resolved to put its draft council plan, budget and related documents out for public comment until the 5th of June. The ESC is yet to release its determination on a higher cap application from Indigo Shire Council. It says that decision is expected before the end of May. Earlier in the year, Alpine Shire Council announced its intention to apply for a higher cap, but later decided not to proceed with the application after consideration of community needs and financial sustainability. A controversial mural depicting a bound and gagged woman in Fitzroy has sparked intense debate and over 1,000 complaints to the city of Yarra, many of them form letters. ABC News reported that the mural is the work of Los Angeles-based artist Lauren Y.S., who has defended the work as a representation of empowerment and queer selfhood, but advocacy group Collective Shout has condemned it as eroticising violence against women. Yarra Mayor Stephen Jolly said the mural was created without proper permits and will result in fines for the business owner. The mural has since been defaced by another graffiti artist. The council has advised its planning enforcement team is investigating the matter and will take the appropriate action required under its planning scheme. Greater Shepparton City Council has added its voice to a growing chorus of opposition to the Victorian Government's proposed Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund. Mayor Shane Sarley said the new tax, set to replace the Fire Services Property Levy in July, would have a significant financial impact on residents, particularly the region's large farming and agricultural sector. The council is urging the Victorian Government to scrap the proposal and find a fairer funding alternative. The MAV, which is set to hold its state council meeting on Friday, has received motions from more than 15 councils from all corners of the state, each calling for a review and reform of the proposed fund. Melbourne's western suburbs are set to receive a major boost, with the state government announcing a nearly $5 billion investment in public transport rail infrastructure, which includes increasing train frequency on the Werribee line and upgrading the Melton line and Sunshine Station. The investment has been welcomed by advocacy group Lead West. Its chair, Councillor Dr Philip Zada, said it was essential for the rapidly growing Western region, which represents 20% of Greater Melbourne's population and is expected to match Adelaide's population in the future. Melton City Council has welcomed the Sunshine Station funding announcement particularly, which will facilitate the future electrification of the Melton rail line. It sees the investments, including the increased services on the Sunbury line, as crucial for its rapidly growing community, which expects 45,000 more commuters over the next 30 years. And Brimbank Council said it was delighted with the news, reiterating its view that the projects are urgently needed to support the economic growth, housing needs and development of Melbourne's western region. One council that is not so happy with the state government's transport project planning is Kingston Council, which this week raised concerns about the suburban rail loop draft precinct plans. It's warning that the plans fail to identify how critical infrastructure will be delivered to support sustainable neighbourhoods. The council is particularly concerned about the lack of funding commitments for new sporting facilities, schools, community facilities and bicycle paths, as well as issues with parking regulations that could take effect before the new SRL stations are operational. Mayor Georgina Oxley said the council is asking the state government to address its concerns urgently and commit to funding the critical community infrastructure needed to make the precincts truly livable. More Victorian news in brief. A new 19-kilometre rail trail connecting Rushworth to Murchison will officially open on Saturday, marking the completion of a joint project between Campaspe Shire and Greater Shepparton councils. The section completes the Waranga Trail and has received infrastructure and bushfire recovery funding from the federal government. Swan Hill Rural City Council has opened the Ultima Compost Facility, a groundbreaking project that will process 1,200 tonnes of garden organics annually and support the region's transition to a circular economy through local composting operations. The facility incorporates modern technology for waste processing and will expand to handle FOGO service by 2027. And Benalla Rural City Council has commenced installation of a new flying fox, the first project from its Faulkner Drive Precinct Master Plan. Mayor Bernie Hearn said the project was a step towards realising the council's vision for the precinct, which will include a new pump track and a network of accessible paths. The flying fox is expected to be completed by early June. This is the Local Government News Roundup, episode number 451, recorded on the morning of Wednesday, the 14th of May. Support for the podcast comes from Symphony 3. Local government teams shouldn't have to waste time on manual data entry into outdated systems. With Symphony 3 Smart Glue, you don't have to. You can automate repetitive tasks, eliminate double handling, and connect legacy systems with ease. Smart Glue helps councils streamline operations, reduce errors, and deliver better services without replacing your existing systems. It's time to build smarter, more connected local governments. Learn more at symphony3.com. Symphony 3. Simple, connected customer experiences. On with the news now, and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has finalised his cabinet and there's been no change to local government-related portfolios. Catherine King has retained responsibility for infrastructure, transport and local government, while Christy McBain remains Minister for Regional Development, Local Government and Territories and takes on emergency management.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey there, I'm Aviva Klompus. The news moves fast, and it's not easy to cut through the noise and understand what really matters.
Okay, guys, we got to get off the roof.
So sorry to interrupt. We do now have...
That's why twice a week I sit down with former Israeli ambassador to Washington, Dr. Michael Oren, and other leading voices to dig beyond the headlines.
It is happening fast.
This is not something that's...
Let us go back, a 30,000-foot moment.
Subscribe to Boundless Insights wherever you get your podcasts.
Woollahra Municipal Council has requested a temporary suspension of new state government housing development laws in Rose Bay, Double Bay and Edgecliff. The Sydney Morning Herald reported that the council has concerns about infrastructure strain and flood risks. The laws, which came into effect in February and allow buildings up to 6 storeys within 400 metres of certain areas, are part of the state government's plan to build 377,000 new homes. Woollahra is required to contribute 1,900 homes by mid-2029, and the council says engagement on the reforms was minimal and that the government doesn't fully understand the implications. The New South Wales Premier did not respond to a demand from Central Coast Council for a state of emergency declaration to address coastal erosion concerns, according to the Central Coast News. The council held a second extraordinary council meeting late yesterday to explore alternative actions. It directed the CEO to immediately commence engagement with professionals to undertake assessments of the identified impacted properties at Central Coast beaches and to consider appropriate orders for emergency coastal protection works. Without emergency powers, the council's options are limited to basic protection works like beach nourishment and temporary sandbag placement, while private landowners must seek development consent for any protective measures. The Minister for Central Coast and member for Wyong, David Harris, issued a press release on the weekend stating that the government shares the council's concerns and is prepared to meet with it this week. A meeting has been set for Thursday, and the council's resolution directed that any orders not be issued until after that meeting. Balranald Shire Council is seeking public assistance to address recent vandalism incidents at the senior citizens' amenities, with the latest occurring on the 10th of May following previous damage earlier that week. Backcountry Bulletin reported that the ongoing vandalism issues have resulted in direct financial costs to ratepayers and have also negatively impacted tourism in the area. The council is encouraging residents to report incidents to police or Crime Stoppers. Tweed Shire Council will host the 2025 Local Government New South Wales Destination and Visitor Economy Conference later this month, bringing together councillors and local government professionals to explore tourism trends and opportunities. The conference will feature the New South Wales Top Tourism Town Awards and showcase the Tweed region's tourism attractions with the aim of helping councils grow their local visitor economies. Meanwhile, LG New South Wales has hosted its 3rd annual Rural and Regional Summit in Sydney, bringing together representatives from over 70 councils and state government leaders to address challenges facing non-metropolitan areas. The summit focused on key issues including financial sustainability, natural disaster recovery, water utilities management and building reforms, featuring speakers such as the Minister for Local Government, Ron Honig, and discussions on supporting regional communities. And Shellharbour City Council will hold a commemorative ceremony on Sunday to honour 4 Australian soldiers who lost their lives while rescuing 62 American crewmen from a tanker crash during World War II. The incident occurred in 1943 when the City Service Boston tanker hit rocks near Bass Point in rough seas, leading to a rescue mission where all the American crew were saved, though tragically 4 Australian rescuers were swept away by a large wave. Some news out of Queensland now, and Gold Coast Council has faced protests and criticism for issuing compliance notices to evict homeless people from a tent city in Southport. The Gold Coast Bulletin reported on a protest by advocates outside the council chambers, calling the council's approach inhumane and focused on beautification rather than support. The evicted residents have only moved a few hundred metres to another park, while the council maintains it's working on housing solutions with the state government. ABC News reported that Gold Coast City Council yesterday voted to enforce fines and confiscate the belongings from people sleeping rough in public areas, becoming the third local government in southeast Queensland to adopt such measures after similar moves by Brisbane and Moreton Bay regional councils. Bundaberg Regional Council has announced its decision to transition out of the Commonwealth Home Support Program by the end of June, after providing aged care support services for over 25 years. It says the decision has been prompted by significant legislative changes in aged care, and the transition will be managed carefully over a 5-month period to ensure continuity of care. Mayor Helen Blackburn said specialised aged care providers will be better placed to manage the upcoming changes brought about by the new Aged Care Act. Ipswich City Council has unanimously supported a motion to build a new 400-metre synthetic athletics track, prompted by local athlete Gout's success and ahead of the 2032 Brisbane Olympic Games. The council will identify suitable locations and develop an advocacy campaign for government funding, aiming to replace the current problematic grass track at Bill Patterson Oval, which was constructed over a former rubbish tip. And Logan City Council is using sophisticated drone technology with thermal cameras to conduct its first comprehensive koala population survey. ABC News reported the council is investing $25,000 to better understand and protect the endangered species habitat. The data collected will inform future city planning decisions, though conservationists warn that housing development poses a threat to koala survival, and they're advocating for building up, not out, to preserve critical habitat. More news in brief. The historic Alexandra Suspension Bridge in Launceston's Cataract Gorge has reopened following a comprehensive restoration project. The two-phase project has preserved the heritage of the bridge while modernising its components for future generations. Noosa Council has decided to reduce Tourism Noosa's funding by $520,000 for the next 12 months, while also transferring events management back to the council. Zinc 96 reported the decision comes as part of a new 12-month funding agreement that aims to align with Noosa's first destination management plan. Bruce Bailey has been elected to the district of Tumby Bay Council in a supplementary election, triggered by the resignation of former councillor Christian Kotz, and the District Council of Peterborough has appointed Kristen Clark as its acting CEO, following the resignation of former CEO Leanne Babbage. The council has commenced a process to fill the position on a permanent basis. The Local Government Association of Tasmania has launched a Lift the Tone campaign in response to findings that 80% of elected representatives have experienced abuse or intimidation. It's calling for more respectful public discourse and is encouraging Tasmanians to sign an online pledge for civil communication. The campaign highlights the serious mental and physical health impacts of abuse on elected officials and their families, with social media and public spaces identified as the most common settings for such behaviour. Glenorchy City Council has appointed Emilio Real, the current Deputy CEO and Director of Infrastructure and Development, as its new Chief Executive Officer, following a unanimous council decision. Mr Real is a former General Manager of Huon Valley Council. He commences on the 1st of July, replacing Tony McMullen, who is stepping down after 8 years. Northern Areas Council in South Australia has appointed Ross McNeil, an experienced local government executive from New Zealand, as its new CEO commencing in July. Mayor Sue Scarman expressed excitement about bringing New Zealand's progressive local government approaches to northern areas, with Mr McNeil committed to delivering quality services and working collaboratively with the community. And from Western Australia, the Shire of Augusta-Margaret River has issued a reminder of the importance of obtaining necessary permits before construction after a local builder was fined $53,000 for conducting unauthorised building works. Shire President Julia Meldrum said this week that the case highlights the serious consequences of non-compliance with building regulations. She said registered builders who conduct work without approval are making a commercial risk-based decision that doesn't pay off. A Waroona man has been fined $25,000 in Mandurah Magistrates Court for clearing approximately 1,000 square metres of protected native bushland without council approval. The Shire of Waroona took the court action, claiming the clearing had impacted important black cockatoo habitat and grass trees on his property and adjacent Shire-managed road reserve. Perth Now reported the magistrate determined the man's actions significantly impacted the environment and native flora and fauna and granted him a spent conviction, as well as fining him and awarding costs of $1,500. And the Cairns Post reports that Palmerston Mayor Athena Pascoe-Bell, who was recently admitted as a legal practitioner of the Supreme Court of the Northern Territory, has announced her intention to run for a third term in the upcoming August local government elections. Ms Pascoe-Bell has served as mayor since 2018 after first joining the council as an alderman in 2015 with a focus on accountability. And now it's time for our global report. We're going to hop across to New Zealand firstly. Taranaki Regional Council is planning a 12.9% rate increase for the forthcoming year, slightly lower than the initially projected 13.2% rise in their long-term plan. The Post reported that the Council's annual plan, set for adoption, outlines planned expenditure of $54.5 million against expected income of $52.7 million. Tauranga City Council has held a meeting to receive feedback on its planned budget, which includes a 12% rate rise. The New Zealand Herald reported that 96 people asked to address the Council, with many urging the Council to rein in spending and focus on the basics and reduce rates. In the UK, Dame Andrea Jenkins, the newly elected Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire Combined Authority, who won with a 40,000 vote majority, is facing a legal challenge over her eligibility to stand for election in the first place. The Local Government Chronicle reported that the challenge relates to her residential qualification requirements. The matter will be referred to the County Court following an appeal of an earlier decision that found her eligible to remain on the electoral register. However, even if found ineligible, it's understood she would not automatically be disqualified as mayor. A former Aberdeen City Council worker who embezzled more than £1 million over 17 years by exploiting his position as council tax team leader has been ordered to pay back £104,000. BBC News reported that more than £417,000 has already been recovered from his pension fund. Michael Patterson, who was jailed for 4 years last year, had used the stolen money to fund a lavish lifestyle, including foreign holidays and technology purchases, before his crimes were discovered. To California next. A heated Petaluma City Council meeting last month, marked by public outbursts and a verbal altercation between council members, has led to the development of a new policy on decorum and meeting conduct. Mayor Kevin McDonnell has promised stricter enforcement of meeting rules for council members, staff and the public, emphasising that council chambers must be a place of respect where personal attacks are not permitted. More on that from Petaluma360.com. The dramas at Charlotte City Council in South Carolina continue. A council member, Tijuana Brown, has revealed that Police Chief Johnny Jennings received a $300,000 settlement from the city over threatening text messages from former council member Tariq Bakari. That's considerably more than the previously reported $100,000 approximately. Local station WFAE reported that the revelation has sparked further debate about the city's handling of the matter. The settlement equals more than the chief's annual salary of $280,000. It's led to criticism from some council members, while others have defended the decision during a subsequent news conference. And from Canada finally, Edmonton city officials are exploring the possibility of selling naming rights to city-owned facilities and amenities, with the potential of generating revenue of up to $21 million over 10 years. The Edmonton Journal reported that council members support the revenue diversification strategy, but some hold concerns about maintaining community identity and the city's brand reputation. The matter will come back before the council at a future meeting for further consideration. And that concludes edition number 451 of the Local Government News Roundup, recorded on Wednesday the 14th of May. If you have comments or feedback or story ideas, you can send us an email to lgweeklynews@gmail.com. More information about this episode, including story links and a transcript, at lgnewsroundup.com. The Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. I'm grateful to the many of you who help make this podcast possible by supporting us through a monthly subscription. Support starts at $3 per month, around $5 Australian, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. Details on the website or in your podcast player. The Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Until next time, thanks for listening and bye for now. I'm thrilled to welcome Symphony 3 to the Local Government News Roundup family. If you're a local council, you know how challenging it can be to manage data across all your different systems. That's where Symphony 3 comes in. They've developed Smart Glue, a platform that integrates over 55 council systems, automating data flow without the need for manual work. It turns confusion into simplicity. With Smart Glue, councils save time, reduce errors and empower staff to focus on what really matters. Their clients see a real difference, up to 20% boost in productivity, with savings of over $30,000 per integration every year. Symphony 3 helps councils work smarter, faster and more efficiently, all while better supporting the communities they serve.